What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 48 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk about another Paul Dini book. I've been talking about Paul Dini books for the last several days. Today is the last one that I will be talking about for a while. This book is Jingle Belle. This is a creator-owned character that Paul Dini created. Basically, the premise is that Santa Claus has a rebellious teenage daughter. That's her on the cover right there, drinking something. It looks like Red Bull. And basically, the premise is that Jingle Belle, that's her name, she gets into lots of crazy fun adventures that sometimes gets her into trouble. Sometimes Santa Claus kind of gets mad at her because she gets into these wild and crazy adventures. And the premise is kind of sort of like Fred Claus a little bit, in that Fred Claus is a story where you find out that Santa Claus has a relative that nobody has ever heard of before, and the relative isn't 100% on board with the jolly spirit of Christmas like Santa Claus is. Now, Jingle Belle is not a story where she hates Christmas and she despises it and she can't get along with her family. She's just not 100% about, oh, Merry Christmas, I love you all, and you all better be nice to each other. She's more or less a normal teenage girl who just happens to be the daughter of Santa Claus. She doesn't hate her family, she doesn't hate Christmas, but she has other interests that are similar to what you would expect a teenage girl to have interests in. And it's also funny because she's immortal. We find out at one point that she was the same age in the 1970s as she is now. So that's gotta mess with somebody if you're perpetually a teenager. So I could understand her getting into a lot of the hijinks that she gets into. She's gotta blow off some steam because it seems like she's never going to escape being a teenager, which that's almost the premise of a horror story right there. But anyway, this book is a bunch of short stories. It's a 4-issue miniseries from Dark Horse Comics, but it's several little short, almost vignette pieces about the character of Jingle Belle and her world. And this book is very well put together. It's got a lot of really funny, amusing jokes. There's the Star Wars Holiday Special joke, which had me laughing. There's references to the Rankin Bass Christmas stop-motion stuff from the 70s. There's lots of really funny gags in this book, but overall, this book is something that is not entirely my cup of tea. Now, it's very well put together. I like the artwork here. There's lots of different artists here. It doesn't have an artist listed on the cover because there's like 10 different artists at work here. But I like just about all of the different art styles that are at work here. They're all very different from each other. They're each a unique style, but at the same time, overall, they kind of form together a similar type of style, a similar house style, if you will, for this type of world and this type of character. And I think that works very well. The stories are very well written, but I am not a huge fan of Christmas time in general, like some people are. That, I think, is true of anybody who works in a retail environment. Once you start working retail, you hate Christmas about 1,000 times more than you did before. I like spending time with family. I like watching some Christmas movies, not many, like Nightmare Before Christmas, which is almost not even a Christmas movie. I'm getting way off topic, but the point is, I'm not much of a Christmas guy. So if you have a character that is specifically tied to Christmas, that's going to automatically be a point against it, in my opinion. Now, other people who really love Christmas, they might read this book and they might think that it's a Christmas classic and that they should read it every year. And I would encourage you guys to check this book out if you don't despise the holiday season like I do and you're a fan of Paul Dini. As I said yesterday in my review of Sheriff Ida Red, Mutant Texas, that book, a lot of people really love Paul Dini's work, but then they never check out some of his creator-owned stuff. And this is something that I would recommend that you guys check out because it is very funny. It's got a character who feels very believable, even though this is the first time that you've seen this character. I can't think of a time before this where we find out that Santa Claus has an immortal teenage daughter. I'm sure there's something out there. There's lots of Santa Claus stories out there, but I really like the premise of this book. It's just that it's got so much Christmas stuff in it that it's a little much for me. I'm not really a Christmas guy, so this is not a book that I return to very often. But if you don't have the same feelings about Christmas that I do, then I would recommend that you check out Paul Dini's Jingle Belle. And I think there's a volume 2 of this. I just didn't buy it because I don't really need that much Christmas stuff in my life. But if you are interested in reading more stuff from Paul Dini, like I've suggested that you do, then you might want to check out volume 1 and Volume 2. Now, I haven't read Volume 2. I don't know if it's worth reading, but if it's anything like Volume 1, you'll probably want to check it out. So those are my brief thoughts on Paul Dini's Jingle Belle. And by the way, I forgot to mention this. There is a cameo from Ida Red from the Mutant Texas book. So if you are interested in a little cross-pollinization from two of Paul Dini's separate creator-owned worlds, then you definitely would want to check this out. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Jingle Belle. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with some other kind of video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of your day. Catch you later.